Max Thompson Jr., the Hillbilly. With his recent buff, you've probably seen a lot of him in your trials lately, and for good reason. Hillbilly used to be one of the top killers in Dead by Daylight, but after his nerf that may or may not have been warranted, many Billy players felt a bit dejected by behavior. They took what was one of the most interesting to play killers and stripped him of what made him fun to play, and worst of all, they punished players for using his power. You could still do some of the fun stuff that you could do with him before the nerf, but you weren't able to attempt at getting a curve multiple times at one loop due to the long cooldown time between saws that would allow survivors to easily get to other loops, along with the constant threat of overheating looming over your head. In addition to this, when overheat was added, it was a huge nerf to Hillbilly's mobility. Flying around the map at high speed became a thing of the past, since you could only really go across the map 2 or so times before overheating your saw. Lastly, the nerf to Hillbilly's add-ons was a blanket weakening to everything he could do, and despite adding build diversity to him, got rid of some of the most powerful builds that he could run against threatening teams of competent survivors. It also turned off many casual Hillbilly players because the so-called easy way of playing Hillbilly with faster saw add-ons had been removed entirely. Because of all these nerfs, many people, including myself, stopped playing Hillbilly for an extended period of time, and he became a bit of a forgotten relic. Some people did continue the Hillbilly dream long after his nerf, but due to how difficult he became to play, the only way to consistently win as Hillbilly was with extreme precision and very efficient and knowledgeable plays. This led to a complete lack of new or less experienced Hillbillies to play against, since anyone who is not already good at playing him would have to get their ass kicked by almost every single survivor team they went against until they were able to get their skills up to par with very talented Hillbilly players. And learning how to use the chainsaw efficiently doesn't even cover how difficult it was to simply deal with 50 different maps and all the RNG that comes with them. Sure, you can learn how to curve the chainsaw, but can you learn how to do it on 30 separate tiles that require slightly different methods and have weird angular points that jut out and ruin your saw? It doesn't need to be said, but losing nearly every game isn't very fun, no matter what you're doing. Even if you're still learning, it's nice to be encouraged and seeing that you're making progress, but since there was so much to account for, it was incredibly unfun to learn Hillbilly after his nerf. Hillbilly's buff knocks that all down and eases up the absolute straight line of a learning curve that he's had for the past 2 years. Behavior changed Hillbilly to have a faster cooldown, faster base chainsaw speed, slightly faster movement speed after finishing a saw, and extended the curving window. Additionally, they changed the forced cooldown of overheat into a blanket buff called overdrive. Once Hillbilly has used his chainsaw enough, he'll go into overdrive, giving him a 5% faster charge speed, 30% faster sprint speed, and 10% faster recovery. This means that instead of being punished for using your chainsaw, you are now rewarded with an even stronger power. This was probably the best decision that Behavior could have made to adjust Hillbilly's power without making him feel overly oppressive, but still allowing him to be very strong in the right hands. The addition of Overcharge rewards players for using their chainsaw as much as possible, which helps in the learning process by allowing you to make mistakes often and try to hit your curves as many times as you want, instead of punishing you like the old overheat mechanic did. These buffs also allow it to be much easier to get curves with your chainsaw without being forced to use Engraving's add-ons. On top of these buffs, they also adjusted some add-ons accordingly, and one of the most important changes to Billy's add-ons for casual players was the change of his turning add-ons, changing their rarities to yellow and brown respectively, and removing the downside to running them that increased your cooldown time when bumping into objects. These add-ons, especially when run together, overall ease the difficulty of controlling Billy in long chainsaw sprints, which is something that new Hillbilly players could find very difficult. These turning add-ons also affect the initial turn rate, allowing for more experienced Billies to get very nasty hits thanks to the extended curving window. Other add-ons that could especially help new players are his cooldown add-ons that allow you to chainsaw again after a missed chainsaw much faster than normal, even more so when they're both used together. This allows Hillbilly players to counter W holding from survivors by chainsawing to where a survivor could go and then cutting them off before they can get there. Very similar to how Blight is able to cut survivors off before they can make it to structures or loops. Chainsaw curving has also been added as an intended mechanic instead of being a bug, and the curving window for Hillbilly has been increased significantly. This means that anyone who doesn't know that you need to turn your controller sensitivity all the way up to curve properly now can curve in the same way as everyone else. It also means that bhvr will be able to adjust the curving ability accordingly if it ends up being too oppressive or too weak, and there's no chance that the feature could be patched out. There have been worries from the DVD community that some of the features that have been added with this buff have gone too far, especially the extended curving window that allows for some insane hits. And while these worries aren't unfounded, it's a very small percentage of the community that's able to use Hillbilly to the highest level like this, and we as a community will have to see where he needs to be balanced if the current version of Hillbilly becomes too oppressive. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, we've got plenty of other videos here and more coming in the next coming months. Thank you so much.